Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. Yesterday we got more evidence of the growing power of the Asian movie markets and their influence on Hollywood, as lo and behold, Disney decided to release their first full trailer for Frozen in Japan. We here in the United States got this crappy teaser trailer on the Weather Channel's website that was like an Ice Age ripoff. But they got the full trailer debut yesterday. It's all over the internet by now, but if you haven't seen it, I've included a link in the video description. And a lot of you have been asking me, and I appreciate it, what my thoughts are on this full trailer, our first full look at Anna and her sister Elsa, the Snow Queen. And I have to say, I have mixed feelings. I will say on the positive side, I can already tell that Elsa is going to have a huge fan base. She's the Snow Queen. I think she looks really cool. I love her hair. I think she's just totally going to, railroad Anna in terms of fans. And so the sibling rivalry begins. I guess I shouldn't be promoting that because the whole movie is supposed to be about the friendship of siblings. But, it's interesting to see what characters catch on with audiences and which characters don't. Also, I'd say they don't look as much like Rapunzel as I think some of us were worried. They seem to have a little bit of a different look. Actually, someone asked me, I believe it was yesterday or the other day, in the comments, they said, well, all the Disney characters looked similar and hand-drawn. Like Alice in Wonderland and Wendy from Peter Pan, they all had the same face. Why does it matter now? And I guess I would say because, you have more detail with the character, when you have CGI for some reason, I think you're more aware of how everything looks, and hand-drawn, I think you can get away with a little bit more. But I will say on a side note, it would have been great if the hand-drawn princesses also looked a little different. And of course, Alice and Wendy are probably the best case of two characters that are almost identical. They just had their hair swapped out. And they were voiced by the same actress, actually. So I feel they should have made these characters look a little different than Rapunzel, and it looks like they do. But we saw very little of in the trailer, by the way. This is still kind of a teaser trailer. At least I'm hoping, because I have to say that I'm a little disappointed in what I'm seeing. And my biggest complaint is the lack of detail in the frames. This looks very, very cheap to me, very cheap animation. One of the greatest things about Disney animation, and animation in general, but Disney's always excelled in, even with their hand-drawn stuff, is attention to detail and creating a mood. But instead, in this Frozen trailer, what we're seeing, it almost reminds me of those direct-to-video movies that used to always rip off Disney movies, and they would always come out at the same time. I remember as a kid, I would be at the grocery store, and they would have these videos on display. That were, just when Pocahontas comes out, so does this Pocahontas, rip-off from a smaller animation house. And, no disrespect to those companies, but they weren't on the par of the Disney feature that was coming out. So what is the rip-off of the Snow Queen going to look like if this is the high-quality one? Even Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph had such amazing detail. You could taste the candy when you were watching that movie. When they were playing Sugar Rush and everything, and I was just so impressed with the attention to detail. So it's disappointing to see a trailer here that almost looks like Anna and Elsa are interacting in, artistic modern backgrounds because they have so little detail and they're just basically splashes of color. And I find that disappointing. Maybe that's actually a problem when you have an ice world that you're animating. Maybe that's an unforeseen problem. But I was looking forward to really beautiful, detailed ice-covered forests. And unfortunately, that doesn't look like what we're getting. Because even Tangled, I thought, had really nice detail. I mean, they rendered a European forest with just such beautiful detail and warmth that I really think went a long way in making me enjoy that film. So I'm still worried about Frozen. I'm very worried about Frozen. But at least I feel this is somewhat more of a step in the right direction, and I think Elsa looks very cool. All right, so the second story of the day is that if you feel bad that Scarlett Johansson is not getting her due as Black Widow with her own movie, Luc Besson is taking care of that. It was announced yesterday that his upcoming action movie, Lucy, which is going to star Scarlett Johansson, will be the biggest budget ever for a EuropaCorp film. And EuropaCorp is Luc Besson's production company over in France. And he's saying, this is the most special effects I've ever used, and I'm going to do a huge action movie. Now, I think he did a pretty good job with whatever budget he was working on with The Fifth Element. So I can't wait to see what he does here. And as you may know from watching this channel, I really like Scarlett Johansson's work as Black Widow. It totally changed my mind about her as an actress. And I think she did a really good job playing the character, making her unique, but still a member of the team. I hate it when female action heroes kind of showboat and, like to, lord it over the male characters. I think that's, not fun. I think they need to be a functioning member of the team, and Black Widow very much was. So what's Lucy about? It's about a drug mule played by Scarlett Johansson who is taking some kind of futuristic sci-fi drugs and transporting them, but they leak into her system. There's an accident. So she develops telekinesis, they said, can see the future, and she becomes impervious to pain. And who's going to help her through this? None other than Morgan Freeman. This sounds great to me. I think I'll definitely see it. I'm such a big fan of Luc Besson, especially his work. His work with female action heroes I think is excellent. He's like the European Joss Whedon. And if you've never seen The Fifth Element, what are you waiting for? Go find that. Milla Jovovich, I feel, is still trading off of that movie to this day. It's a fantastic film with her and Bruce Willis. Chris Tucker from the Rush Hour series, that's where he got his start. It's really fantastic. So I'm very excited to see what Luc Besson can do with Black Widow and even more money. So this looks like a great film, and I'm very happy for Scarlett Johansson, who's been really lobbying hard for a Black Widow movie, but so far all she's been able to get is supporting roles in Iron Man 2, obviously, the Avengers, and she's also a major player in Captain America 2, Winter Soldier, but still, I think this is a great move up for her, and I think it's interesting. Marvel has their characters being co-opted by other movies. They're actors, so I hope they don't take them for granted. The third story of the day is that there's been some movement on the Jeff Robinov where he's going to go after Warner Brothers. He's definitely out there, and according to the Hollywood Reporter, talks are really heating up with Fox. Neither party will comment, Robinov or Fox, but it's looking like a very strong likelihood that Jeff Robinov will end up there. And the word is that even though Jeff Robinov has a little bit of a prickly persona, politically, within a company, he delivers such wonderful results that during his tenure at Warner Brothers that Fox is willing to deal with that. And I think it's a great move. As I said before on Morning Movie News, a previous episode, I think it would be great to see him really take a hand in Fox's Marvel properties, which I think desperately need the help. I know they hired Mark Miller to do it, who writes Kick-Ass, but I feel he's such a salacious artist that I worry about those properties in his hands as well. But I think Jeff Robinov is a great businessman. I think he's done a wonderful job, a wonderful job guiding the comic book properties and all the properties over at Warner Brothers. So I think that would be a huge win for Fox. And it would be great for Robinov to end up at such a prestigious post. Sometimes when you get kicked out of, or you're forced to quit a studio job, you can disappear and never work again. Like Dick Cook, who knows, these producers, Dick Cook was the guy who had Disney for so long. Sometimes they try and start their own shingles, their own production companies, but usually it's very hard for it to work out. Or sometimes, like Alan Horn, they get rehired to take over. And Alan Horn he used to have the job before Jeff Robinov at Warner Brothers, and now he runs things over at Disney. So I talked about him yesterday, actually. So those are the three stories of the day. I think that we're going into the holiday weekend. Still some interesting movie news coming out. Nothing quieting down. That's because Comic-Con is coming up. By the way, I'll have more details as we get closer to the date, but I will be at Comic-Con. So if you'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, I will be there every day. But if you want to be able to definitely find me, I will be signing copies of Superbia, my comic book for Boom Studios, at their booth every day of the convention from 4 to 5 p.m. So you can definitely find me there. So in case you missed my Comic-Con video, now you'll know. So the question for the day. Yesterday I said that someone's name had been in their question, so it was easier for me to remember. So Joseph Chad very nicely put his name in his question, so I thought that was nice. So I'm going to answer his question today. And he said, why do special effects get sidelined at the Oscars? I talked about this yesterday, that I felt special effects weren't getting their due. And he said, special effects are constantly getting bigger and better and deserve more recognition. And then he said who his name was, so in case it would help me remember his question. And it did! I think that, by the way, someone the other day also said that, oh, are you slurring sometimes because you're tired? Actually, I have very bad allergies because I had 2 apartments with mold in them. And anyone who's watching my channel for a long time knows that. And it's very humid in New York City, and the office has very stale air. And so that's what's bothering me, it's allergies. So I apologize. But anyway, to answer Joseph's question, yes, special effects, I think, are really getting the short end of the stick. There's been some talk of them wanting to go on strike. They saying that Hollywood would just be a big green screen if that happened. And of course, at the Oscars last year, Rhythm and Hughes won for Life of Pi, but infamously was played off during their appeal. They started the music to get them off the stage, and while Rhythm and Hughes was trying to appeal to Hollywood to really look after their special effects artists because so many companies are going under, yet they're so crucial to the success of Hollywood films. And they tweak everything. You look at a film like Life of Pi, they added the water, they tweaked the sky, they put all the animals in. I mean, that's just a huge contribution, and that's even like in an artistic film. And when you look at something like Avengers, if you haven't seen it, you should. I'll put a link to that below as well. Their look at the the big battle in the Avengers movie at the end, that's basically almost an animated movie that you're watching, and it's so good that you can't tell. And I was talking about this. I've been doing a lot of research on it. Basically, the problem is that there's so much competition for special effects houses that they end up under. They're trying, in order to get the gig, they bid lower than it would cost them to really do the job and make a profit on it. And so that's what's happening to them. And also, I think Hollywood always is looking to cut corners where they can. And if you're willing to take less, they'll give you less. And I think that because the business is so cutthroat, special effects houses are worried about taking a stand and being like, look, this is what it costs to do the job, and if you're not going to pay me that, I'm not going to do it. I think that someone made a really good point. There was an editorial about this in one of the trades right after the Rhythm and Hughes situation at the Oscars, and the person said, why doesn't a special effects coordinator, why is their name only at the end credits? Why don't they get a title at the beginning of the movie? When you list the DP, the producers, the writer, the costume designer, all of these departments get credit at the beginning of the film, yet special effects is just relegated to this big block of names at the end. And even the supervisor, that should be like a director of photography. That should carry the same cachet, the same prestige, and it should go in the front. And I totally agree with that. But unfortunately, just like everything in Hollywood or in life, it's not going to work unless these people stand up, band together, and do something about it. And I really do feel the special effects community should consider being unionized. And this is something that I've even talked about with comic book writers. I guess I haven't talked about it publicly, but in professional circles with my friends who work in the industry, I've been talking about the fact that there's no regulation for comic book writers. You'll notice they're being treated really poorly by the big two. A slew of them are quitting DC because they're just upset about the demands being made on them that they feel are hurting their reputations and their work. Their reputations because of hurting their work. And if you look into comic book writing, you'll see there's no set format for scripts. There's no protection, and everything is a freelance gig. And and it's very political. And I just feel like this should you need to have like structure and protection. So that's why it's so wonderful that there are guilds like the Directors Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, the Writers Guild, and there needs to be a special effects guild. That's the only thing I think is going to fix this. And I think shame on Hollywood for taking advantage of something that's so important to them and not respecting people who work so hard and do such a fantastic job. But, Hollywood's been doing shady things forever. All business does. It's just the way the world works. I was exposed to it when I got out of school, and what I like to always say is I always felt that Hollywood invented Mr. Potter, but actually, sadly, Mr. Potter is a very real character in life. So that's from A Wonderful Life, by the way. So anyway, that's today's morning movie news. There won't be any tomorrow because it's the 4th of July, but I will be back on Friday the 5th with another episode. But stuff will go up tomorrow, but there just won't be a morning movie news. But there will be a new episode tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it. I think it turned out particularly well. But anyway, thank you for watching. Write down below any questions you might have that you want answered on Friday and any stories you'd like to see covered. Thanks for watching. Bye.